What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And I am Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker also here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We didn't even plan that.
No.
Yeah, we're in the same place.
No, we didn't. Yeah. Episode 43 of the Hustling Sideways podcast.
We are back. Excited to be back. We have a special guest who you can see right now, but I'm going to intro him in a second. But 43, and we have a bone to pick with our alma mater.
Jim's got something to get off
very
his chest.
quickly. We all went to Marquette, and we're going to explain that here in a little bit. Marquette basketball is a thing that exists. It's wonderful. It's October 10th right now. Y'all know things are coming. But at this moment, it's not October 10th because we recorded this early, and Marquette decided to cancel Marquette Madness.
Yep.
Which is bananas.
That was one of the first real things I did because I commuted. So that was the first thing that I did that I was I felt like I was part of
Ellen
campus.
was a dorky commuter student, and this is where he found himself.
Spent a lot of time in the Brooks Lounge.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't hang out anywhere in Brooks Lounge? Kids that have doors.
I was going to say literally everyone. Yeah.
Literally everyone. Yeah.
So anyway, we're excited for the season. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
But canceling an event that gets people pumped up about a season is a weird thing to cancel.
Yep.
And it's not COVID related. It's just they don't feel like they need to do it. And Marquette, we love you, but that's a mistake. And next time you should consult any one of the three of us, and we would happily give you direction for a nominal fee.
They could have, yes, yeah. Of course. We need our fee. They could have did it inside Pfizer form.
That would have been great. Awesome next time.
Whatever concern they would have had, we would have had a way around it. We know a thing or two about that.
We have a history of knowing a thing or two about basketball. But on that note.
As well as our guest does.
Yes, our guest does too.
A little bit.
I'm very excited to welcome in a very special guest today. We have Broken Bat Brewery right here in front of us. But this is Tim Pauly, the founder and the owner of Broken Bat Brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tim,
thanks for having me, guys.
That's our clap track that we don't have yet.
I'll take it.
I could put those in post, and I just don't.
Just don't. This is way more organic, and it's way more fun to clap.
Hey, I'm all about authentic, so I'll take it.
There you go. Absolutely.
Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It was a good day. Sold a lot of beer this week, and got fun things on the horizon. So yeah, life is good.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Now, you did not go straight into being a brew master. What would the technical title?
Well, I'm one of the co-founders. I actually don't do the brewing, so I'm more the business operations, marketing, janitorial when need be, a little bit of everything. But we've got a head brewer back at the shop, and he's awesome. Carl does all our brewing. But yeah, I'm a co-founder, president, whatever LinkedIn title you got to throw on there to make it look good. Yeah.
Now I have to say that we were sharing this off air, but one of the first times, this is probably maybe not the first time we interacted. I think we knew who each other were.
Oh yeah. Circles mingle.
Yeah, exactly. With both Marquette alums, it's the way it goes. A couple years apart, but either way, I was planning a National Marquette Day. If you all don't know what that is, it's basically the best homecoming in the world because
it's a holiday.
To hell with your football teams, we have basketball, and this is what we have. So it's a holiday. We're all there, and as part of the Young Alumni Association, we needed sponsors for this event, and one of our sponsors pulled out 12th hour or 11th hour, or whatever the phrase is. Is it 11th hour?
I like 12th hour better.
I like 12th too. Yeah,
12th is good. And I was like, oh shit, we need to get someone on board. And Kaylin Robert, one of our mutual friends, was like, called Tim up, and I emailed Tim. And the night before this event, I went and picked up a 6-pack and a hat. And you were a raffle prize, and a welcomed and appreciated raffle prize. So thank you as always for being on top of your game. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the last second stuff. So that's kind of how I operate. So,
there you go. But anyway, so obviously Marquette alum from 2007?
2010.
10.
Yeah, graduated 2010.
Either way, that's great.
I don't know. I was there in 2007.
There you go.
Graduated 2010.
Awesome.
And went over to the very well-known Direct Supply pretty much right after graduation. Worked in operations and supply chain there for a long time, and then moved over to small business down in Franklin. But then, Broken Bat Brewing Company was always kind of the goal.
How long was that itch there, to do this?
The idea really manifested in 2013. So I actually have a night me and a couple buddies were listening to Marquette play Butler in the tournament in 2013.
I was at that game.
We were in the middle of nowhere on a little fishing trip, drinking some homebrew, and thought, man, our jobs suck. We should open a brewery. And I thought we could have it open in 9 months, and it took about 4 years. But that was the manifestation of let's open a craft brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was March of 2013.
That's wild. And I know it's funny because being at that Butler game, I know exactly what night that was.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. It was a come from behind. Rodney Clark airballs a 3.
Very close game.
Here we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's got it to the shot.
Awesome.
Now, I think everyone that's lived in Milwaukee long enough, or just guys in general, just people in general all the time are you know what? We should just open a brewery.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody, or a bar.
Yeah. Right, that's like a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure anyone that has ever enjoyed a little bit of beer or alcohol has said, we should open a bar. We should open a brewery.
And also like coming out of like a crappy meeting with someone from accounting. Like in corporate.
That's what it was.
I got to get out of here.
It was like loosening the tie. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have good ideas too. I was counting to getting overruled. I mean, Direct Supply was great. It was great, but I just was not meant to have a boss. That's what it came down to. So I was going to figure something out. Baseball days were long gone, but I wanted to make sure to stay somewhere in the baseball world. And,
so you're a former baseball player.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I played at Marquette. We were basically a drinking club that played baseball.
That's a lot like Marquette clubs.
But I'm still super close with a bunch of those guys. But yeah, just live and breathe Milwaukee, Brewers, baseball, history of the game, all that good stuff. So yeah, we kind of just were spitballing ideas. And back in the day, the big brands were Fat Tire, Spotted Cow, Blue Moon, and it just sort of blurted out, what about Broken Bat? And everybody in the room looked at me like, that's it. Like, let's run with it. And honest to God, that was the day that the brand started. And it just sort of manifested from there.
You think about the amount of companies that spend thousands of dollars on like a marketing agency to figure their like name out, and then you just blurted it out after a couple drinks. Like, this is what we need to do.
It was a Sunday afternoon. Honestly, it was my parents' living room, and we had a couple friends over for the Packer game, and yeah, it was a free experiment. But yeah, it was very clear in the room when it happened.
Okay.
So, and it never changed.
A lot of people have that idea to start a brewery, like I'm saying, and then. Did you have experience before this? You said you were drinking some home brew. Somebody was. Who's the home brewer out of the crew?
He was a buddy of mine that I went to grade school and high school with. He was actually my co-founder. He's moved on to bigger and better things since then, but he started the brew with me. And honestly, I had no experience in entrepreneurship or small business or anything, but the internet exists.
Right.
So we started there. And then we also I started visiting breweries in Wisconsin, and I would go and say, like, hey, is the owner here? Is the brewmaster here? I'm writing a paper for a grad program. Can I just ask a couple questions? It was nothing nefarious, but, I kind of get back into the guts of the operation and start asking questions, and you're like, oh, that costs a lot more than I thought. And you start, formulating a business plan and marketing concepts and...
Yeah.
Was everyone open to those questions? Were they like,
yeah,
oh, come on in?
Yeah, it's a very unique industry where a lot of breweries want other breweries to succeed.
I get that.
Which is,
because I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I feel like of many industries, it's like I would say like the least competitive, and that's like the wrong way to say it, but more like they want you all to succeed, and they also want to as well. But like they're willing to share information.
Yeah, I think especially in Milwaukee and sort of the larger metropolitans in each of the states, we see it as like rising tide raises all ships kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like beer tourism is a thing now, whereas back when we were in college, it was Lakefront, Milwaukee Brewing Company, and Miller. Like that was pretty much it.
That's true.
And now there's like 20 in the downtown area that, on siblings weekends or when the folks are in town, there's a little more variety. So it was very open, a lot of conversations happened from it. Took some things from it, ignored a lot from it. But that was kind of the antithesis of starting the planning, was talking to other breweries that were operating.
When did you like realize you could quit your job? Did
man,
you have to start? Like, were you doing it all like in conjunction with each other, and all of a sudden you're like, now it's time?
Yeah, I mean, it was so from Direct Supply, I moved to a small business down in Franklin. It was actually an apparel company, helped kind of launch them onto the national scene. But they knew when I was coming over to that company that the brewery was still the end goal. So the idea was really, it was at Direct Supply, and like I told you guys off air, I was writing the business plan over lunch in the bathroom on my laptop or in the car after work.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was going to be a full-time thing pretty much right when we opened.
Okay.
And just because I didn't think that it would succeed without full attention.
Totally.
Sure.
So there's other places that do the exact opposite, and they have a corporate job, and this is kind of their side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I did?
Right. Sounds like you.
But
familiar. Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't have any employees for an entire 13-month period. So I was doing all the bartending. Dane was doing all the brewing. I was running operations, marketing, finance. Like I said, janitorial services. But yeah, it was a full-time
space too, like in the basement of in the third ward there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was full-time for me from the start.
Okay. What was the initial reaction when, I mean, I'm sure you told people out of your immediate circle, hey, we want to start a brewery. I'm sure that there you got,
Oh, God.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were very supportive, but you had to have had a couple people that were like, oh, you guys too. Because it is a big industry, especially here in Milwaukee.
The eye rolls were abundant, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say the inner circle of believers was very small to start, especially when I said, hey, I think a baseball concept for a brewery works.
Yeah.
Because back then, again, not a lot of breweries were doing like the niche marketing that happens now, because there are so many breweries, you kind of have to pick a lane almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, the eye rolls and the okays and, little kind of belittling pat on the backs were abundant.
You got this.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Yeah, but I've got that list in my head, and they help motivate me to this day, and I've served a bunch of them beers over the counter.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's a good feeling. But yeah, it took a lot of convincing early on.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't quite the thing back in 2014 that it is now.
What did it feel like to sell your first beer that like wasn't a close friend or family member?
It was cool.
Like,
it was
do
cool.
you remember that moment?
Oh yeah,
like,
I still
someone
have.
came in and bought your beer.
Yeah, I still have the $10 bill for sure.
No shit.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Still got it.
I love that.
But yeah, it was just a random couple that lived in the third ward, and they'd kind of seen like our marketing and street marketing out, and they lived about a block away and came down and said, hey, we're happy to have a brewery in the neighborhood, and they're still members of the Mug Club, and they come to the tap room. They have to walk a little further because we moved a few blocks away back in 2020. But it was a very weird feeling to have somebody pay us for beer that we made.
It's funny, like just like analogy wise, I'm thinking about when people pay me to come speak. Like I still can't believe like people actually find value in like something I created. Like,
right.
Oh, you okay? Like it's still to this day after 8 years. I'm like. I mean, I'm more used to it now, but I mean, then it was like, wow, I don't. If someone's like, how much do you cost? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why,
you tell me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like my high school was like the first place to ever like pay me, and like what I charged them was literally I was like thinking about a tank of gas and like going back and forth. Like, now
so they got a deal.
I look back to like how much, and I'm like, they got, I mean, talk about a deal and a half. But it's really cool. Like when you realize that something that you created has value in this sense, and they enjoyed it. And they're like, that's great. We want to have people come back, and that's got to be gratifying. Now, I'm curious, like, you guys obviously survived COVID. How did you? What did you pivot to? Like, how what? Like, walk us through that whole thing. I mean, because for a brewery, that's got to be incredibly difficult.
It was a wild. It still is. We're still like licking wounds from the last couple of years. So we had an awesome space in the third ward. It was only about 2,000 square feet. So we outgrew that really quickly from 2017 to like mid 2018. We started a moving plan to our facility that we're currently in 2019. And we had our big launch party for our 3-year anniversary scheduled for April 4th of 2020.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So the world shut down, as we all remember, like March Madness weekend of 2020, right before St. Patrick's Day. And it was... It was tough. I mean, we ended up selling out of a garage door and a tent for months because we couldn't have anybody in the new tap room.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the government subsidies and help helped, but a lot of that was based on our 2019 numbers, which weren't
as good as
of our
2020 could be.
Because we moved into a space that was 7 times. I mean, we're in a 15,000 square foot facility now.
Yeah.
So rent was a little different. Utilities were a little different.
Yeah, and you're not in a
operating
cheap neighborhood.
Were different. Yeah. So yeah, it was wild. It was tough. Obviously, the city of Milwaukee did everything they could to communicate with places like us in the service industry. But we were allowed 25% capacity through, I think it was October or November of that year, and then it was 50%. But you had to write a 50-page safety plan and submit that. It was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Did you find the support of other breweries like during that time? Were you guys helping each other out?
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, we created a little Milwaukee Brewing Company group. Not to steal Milwaukee Brewing Company, but
sounds familiar.
We called ourselves like the MCBL, Milwaukee Craft Brewery League, where we all would trade, raw materials or packaging supplies or anything, because we didn't want to see that be the reason
100%.
You go down. Like if your beer sucks, if your service sucks,
that's a whole different story.
If you're a jerk, then you got to go down swinging. But
totally,
we helped folks we helped the brewery that moved into our old space package some beer because they could only sell to-go beers at the time. So it was wild, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was stressful.
It's almost like you had to go back to like like a bartering system, like a trade like system to
Yeah.
be like, okay, like we have an excess of this week. Somebody come get it.
Who wants it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what can you trade for it?
Wow.
But
that is amazing.
Yeah, things started to turn, as we all kind of know, like early 21, things loosened up, and then the waves have been back. But,
Right.
But since early 2021, it's been on the road to recovery, per se. Yeah.
Now with that, actually, pre 2020, you guys were obviously scaling up. When was that first moment for you that you were kind of like, oh, we're not making just small batches of brewing? Like you realized, like, okay, we need like tanks. We need big stuff. I mean, was there a little bit of a hesitance that forms there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our old space, again, it was really cool. It was really intimate, but we outgrew it in about 9 months, where our tanks were full at all times with the limited capacity that we had. And we figured we could either ride this out for the next 10 years and just do what we're doing and stay the same size, or kind of go for it, quote unquote. And we decided to go for it. So I would say it was probably May of 2018 that we started poking around, looking at buildings, looking at other facilities, figuring out what the scalability would look like, distribution plans, trying to come up with what that looks like, because we weren't distributing back when we were just a little tiny brew pub, tap room.
Right.
Most of it was on site, but yeah, we got some cool accounts. We got really cool projects with we were down in Wrigley Field for a couple years, which is really neat.
Nice.
That's awesome.
We did a collaboration with the Northwoods Baseball League, which is across the entire Midwest.
Yeah.
So we actually brew the beer that the league forces into each stadium.
Oh, that's
really
which is really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, the owner of the league is a diehard craft beer fan, and we brew his beer.
Sure.
So that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it was pretty early on, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, that we kind of realized we needed to giddy up.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point too of partnerships and finding the right people to kind of associate yourself with. We've talked about this before. We talked about like you kind of need the right people to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Now, do you seek out those kinds of things, or like, does somebody in the brewery, or does it kind of a mix of like people come to you? Like, how does that work?
It's more me reaching out, to be honest with you. Well, early on it was me reaching out. Now it's flipped a little bit. Now we've been around for 5.5 years, but the first kind of big break that we got was Tim Dillard. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tim Dillard.
Brewers pitcher.
Yeah, so he had a mutual friend, came down to the tap room one night really early on, after we were closed on a Sunday, ended up having a great time, and we actually did a collaboration beer with him way back in like fall of 17.
Okay.
That was sort of our first like break.
Yeah.
Where it got a little more juice, because he put it on his social media of like, what should we name this beer with Broken Bat, and took a bunch of pictures, and all of a sudden our followers skyrocketed, and now he's obviously on TV with the Brewers, and we had Eric Thames lived in the third ward, and he was a regular at the tap room,
cool.
which is really cool. Oh, he is the sweetest dude in
I've
the
heard
world.
interviews with him, and he's just like so like kind, He's awesome.
He looks
he's
like
amazing.
a giant man.
He does,
but
which I love I love when people defy that stereotype of just like this honking dude.
Gentle
and
giant.
Couldn't be nicer. Yeah,
He
it's the best.
barely fit through the door into the tap room, but yeah, he was awesome. We've met a bunch of players and coaches from like teams around the league and stuff like that. So it was a little more me reaching out early on, but some of it was organic too.
Yeah.
But the Northwoods League thing, I was just seeing a commercial at an Olive Garden for this beer that I'd never heard of before, and like, oh, we should be the ones brewing that.
Right.
And it turned into an awesome partnership that's still going today. So
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I like that too. Is there anybody that we can manifest that you can be like, who could we work with?
Oh man,
Like the dream collaboration.
the dream collab.
That's usually something I ask like artists,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Right,
I've never even thought about it in the beer
I mean,
space though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Brewers would be just incredible,
Well, I was
but
gonna say, like, have you done anything with the organization itself?
no, we have a really awesome relationship. So like
Yeah.
we work with their front office. We've
Sure.
had their corporate parties at the brewery before. We've gotten like
Cool.
a ticket exchange going with them. So we have a really good relationship. But
Yeah.
there's that big brewery that we've all heard of called
Yeah.
Miller. That's
That
Sounds
is
familiar.
sort of blocked our path there
Yeah.
a little bit. But I think a major league team collaboration someday would be pretty awesome.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Where do you get? How do you come up with your beers? Like is this like is it Carl that sort of does that, or like where does the inspiration come?
No, man, this is 34, 35 now. I just had a birthday, 35. Good God. This is about 35 years of just loving baseball, man. I've got a little black book with just a bunch of notes and scribbles, and Carl does help bring these to life.
Sure.
More of them are, I've got an idea for a beer name. Can you match a beer with the name.
Got it.
But every once in a while,
cool talent,
he'll come with and be like, I really want to brew this. Like, can you match a brand to it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But we've got a really long list of names to pick from, and thankfully with baseball, the puns and
they're just
it's a deep pool, man.
Really
yeah.
is, yeah.
In the sports world, it's a very deep
pick
pool.
one.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it's just a lifelong love of baseball.
That's very cool, and creating that brand and creating that image. I think it's something that's super unique, and it's kind of unique to just beer in general to kind of have those kind of things.
Have you done anything with Marquette, like other than sponsorships and things, but like has there been a collaboration there at all?
Well,
tell us more.
Yeah, so there's been some internet.
I honestly forgot that you said this, and then now I
that was
realized,
great. That was fantastic.
Now it's a really good
He's
question.
setting it up hard.
I want to be clear about that. I completely forgot we just talked about
yeah,
this.
so there's been some rumblings on Twitter of some Marquette alum accounts saying, why doesn't Marquette have their own craft beer?
Yeah.
And the powers that be, after about 9 months of trying, I finally got in the right lane, and we are feverishly working on putting pen to paper on a project to have the 5 Marquette alum breweries in Milwaukee collaborate on a beer.
That's very cool.
To be launched on National Marquette Day.
Oh, let's go.
2023. So
Okay.
That's amazing.
yeah.
I feel like we're breaking this news. Are we allowed to?
This is absolutely breaking news,
Is like
but it is.
Yeah.
It's far enough up the pipe that
You feel
we
like
can start
it's gonna
talking
be-
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
That's got to be the start of something that's going to be wonderful.
we hope that it's going to be, and the really cool part is it's actually going to be collaborative with the student body. So there's going to be a little cohort selected by Marquette that's going to work with the breweries on marketing, on finance, on supply chain, on logistics,
Totally.
and really put ideas to life. And
Marquette will sell that. I mean, if it's from all 5 of you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
that's
Amazing.
the hope anyway. I mean, we're still
Yeah.
working on logistics of
Right.
all the details, but yeah, so it'll be Broken Bat, obviously.
Yeah.
City Lights, Gathering Place Brewing Company, Good City, and then Milwaukee Brewing Company. So
Very
those are the
cool.
5
That is
included.
awesome.
Yeah,
That was such a good question.
Way to set that up.
that was
Jim.
fantastic.
I'm not going to take the credit for that, but that was a really good question.
So yeah, we're super excited
Awesome.
about the
Awesome.
relationship with
That's-
Marquette.
That is long overdue.
Yeah.
I mean, in any number of ways.
And there's other schools that have been doing it, which is nice
Yeah.
that we kind of had a blueprint of like, hey, if
Oh,
we
sure,
don't do
you can-
this,
yeah.
we're going to be like at the back of the line. Let's be at the front of the line.
Yeah.
And having 5 in the Milwaukee area
Right.
is
It's like
really
such
cool.
a no-brainer for that. I mean, like you want to support your alums, and they're doing great stuff. They want to be involved. I mean,
Yep.
like that is just that's right there. That's a
Yeah.
partnership that writes itself. That's awesome.
So I've picked up on 2 themes here today so far because I like to tie it all
Is
together.
beer one of them? No.
Well, actually, beer was not. But now that you think about it, yeah, there's a lot of community that goes on with what you guys are doing, and then there's a lot of risk taking too that comes with what you guys are doing. You know, at least initially there was. What was building your initial community like for you? Like, what as a marketing, your community outreach. You said at one point you were a little bit everything to even being the bartender.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of walk us through like what do you think your strengths were in building your community that has obviously been successful to this point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
It really started behind the bar. So like I said, we didn't have employees. We were open 4 days a week to start. So it was a Thursday through Sunday, come down to the tap room. We're going to have baseball, basketball, football on TV. Probably going to have a Hootie song on the speakers. So if you don't like it, get out of here because that's what we're listening to.
That's what we do here. Yeah.
But that was sort of the building of the community is all of a sudden we had regulars. And if you know their beer order and you have it ready for them and you know them by first name, and we had a mug club and that was 100 people at a time every year. And now we've got 450 members there, and
That's so significant. Like what
it's
you just said,
huge.
like people
Yeah.
really feel like they're welcomed in a place.
It's huge.
That makes a world of difference.
And I'm very close. Like I don't bartend as much anymore, which is nice. But I still talk with some of our kind of OGs as we call them, and but yeah, it turned into Thursday night Uno at the bar with a group,
I
or
love that.
we do beer dice or all sorts of goofy stuff. But building the community literally started in our tap room and worked out from there. So some breweries go at it where they brew a ton of beer, they want to get out of the market and then start out and work your way in, and then have you come find the brewery after you've had the beer on the shelf.
Yeah.
We were the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's like all I think I've ever known from breweries is like that's how they're like try. I'm at a festival or something.
Yep.
It's like try this beer now come to us. I guess the risk there is that you have to assume that people are gonna like the word of mouth or people are just gonna like waltz in or find it right. But it obviously it works. Like that organic way is good.
Call it blissful ignorance, I suppose. Like we believed in it enough that we figured if it wasn't going to work after 2 or 3 years, like we had an exit strategy. Like I'm not not dumb enough to sit there and just burn people's money to the ground because this wasn't all self-funded. You know, we had an investor group and a bank that believed in us, and we're still with everybody that we started with. But it really was going to businesses in the neighborhood, handing out little buy one get one coupons, talking to my high school, which is Pius, over in Milwaukee, Marquette. Tried to stay in touch with some people there, and the Lakeshore Chinooks are part of that Northwoods League.
Yep.
We got tied in with them really early on. So,
nice.
And then reaching out to the people that I had been reading their stuff about Milwaukee. So Urban Milwaukee, On Milwaukee, Milwaukee Business Journal, Journal Sentinel. They all have little community outreach areas of their publications.
Yeah.
And we were able to get into a bunch of those early on.
That's awesome.
Where people at least had heard of us in our little micro neighborhood pretty quickly, which helped. Yeah. And then it grows from there.
I really think, I'm a huge baseball fan as well. I'm a Chicago kid, White Sox fan, but I love the Brewers.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We're not Cubs fans.
That's all that matters.
This is a documented Cubs hatred podcast. To make sure
that's why I'm so comfortable.
We don't have we don't have so many hard positions, but that is one.
That is one of them. Other than Wisconsin Badgers, that's the other one. But anyway,
they're never a threat. So.
Right? Yeah, and we're going to drop 50 on them this year. It's going to be wonderful. But I think one of the things about baseball is it's such a timeless tradition that's relaxed and welcoming, and I feel like you guys have that vibe. Not only are you all baseball fans and that's what it's modeled after, but the times I've been there, it's really chill. And to your point, having a Hootie song on, having sports on, it's an atmosphere. Some breweries can be a little bit pretentious. It's true. You walk in, you feel if you don't like one beer, they got a guy with a big ponytail on. That's what I envision with a brewery, and this is come on in, come as you are, and it's a good time, and it has that baseball vibe almost in the place, and it's not easy to do that. That's a very specific culture to create, and I think that's why people are really attached to what you guys do.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was very much by design. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Well, look at that.
We're trying to bridge the gap between the breweries that and they're masters at their craft. So I get that there's a vibe of a little stuffiness or pretentious around it, but that's the lane, quote unquote, that they picked, which is great. Ours is bridging the gap between Mountain Creek Light and those folks, and we're somewhere in the middle.
Totally.
But we want to be approachable. Sit down. You're going to recognize Pilsner, IPA, wit beer, amber. You're not going to be thrown off by, I can't pronounce that beer, so I'm going to just pass completely. It might be amazing, but there's some folks that aren't comfortable in the craft beer world that would just skip it or just be uncomfortable and never go back.
And I drink a lot of light beer. I'm not a huge craft beer person, so if I walk up and the menu is 1,000 long and I don't know what's going on, I'm like, do you have anything light? I don't even know what to say sometimes. And it's just way more approachable when it's can I help you with it, or do you want, and that makes a difference. And I can imagine that people are like that when you have that one good experience and you tell people about it, especially local folks, it makes a big difference. And I'm curious now, are there plans to extend beyond Milwaukee? Have you, or is this kind of the city that you're in, and you're good here, or what have you guys talked about that at all?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to move locations anymore. So our facility is large enough that we can expand production if we need to.
Good.
And we have started some distribution across the state, so we're pretty flooded into the Madison market. We just launched in the Green Bay market about a year ago, which we're very excited about. Yeah. And then pretty much the shoreline all the way up to the Door Peninsula. Yep. But no, our goals are not to be Sierra Nevada, Dogfish.
Right. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Totally. We would be really comfortable being a well-known microbrewery in Southeast Wisconsin that a couple folks in the middle of the state have heard of.
Yeah.
But we're very comfortable at the size that we're at. We can pretty much triple our production with the space that we have. If we get to that in a couple years, great. But right now we have such a good thing going with where we're at that it's nice to be able to breathe. For the first time in a couple of years.
Totally, man.
So we're just sort of relaxing
and
right now.
The new space is so good too. Got the wiffle ball. I mean, it's awesome. They got everything, and I really, that's the kind of the perfect spot to feel like you can have your own, your own space, your own moment to be with your friends, and then around you there's a lot of people. It's not too loud. It's a really good thing.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, creating an atmosphere, especially for a brewery, tap room, whatever, I'm sure is
and
huge.
There's always a game on.
And there's always a game on.
Always a game on, yeah. Definitely not Marquette Madness. That's not on.
Well,
but,
I guess,
otherwise there's always a game on. I'm over it.
If we bark loud enough, man, I think if enough people bark loud enough,
I agree.
We'll just have it at the brewery. We'll just have a dunk contest.
There you go.
Me,
I could do it. We could pull this off.
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time. We could pull it off.
I see the wheels turning.
Speaking of the wheels turning, I'm sure somebody listening to this, watching this, is probably saying, you know what? I want to start a brewery.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice for them? I know you had to think that this was probably coming.
Well, I've met with probably 15 to 20 folks in my 5 years of, hey, awesome. We're in the process of starting. You just launched. Can I meet? And I always sit down and I'm brutally honest with them. A lot of folks had the same idea that I did, where we can get this up and running in 6 or 8 months. I tell them that's not true. You will not be open if you don't have a location that's ready to brew for about a year. And that's just the reality of the situation. It's more expensive than you think. There are more legal hurdles to get over than you think. So just plan for whatever you think it's going to be, double it in money and awfulness, and you'll probably still be short of the reality. But you have to commit to it is always my number one thing. Like if this is like a get rich quick thing or I really like beer, I think I can do it, that's not going to work. It's a business first. And that's always what I say is sure, it's awesome and it's fun, but our brewers spend more time cleaning and sweating and swearing than they do like drinking beer and brewing. Like brewing is a really small part of owning a craft brewery.
I think people have that image in their heads.
I was gonna say,
just a blast. You're back, having a beer.
It is like
it's certainly that.
There are moments.
It is, but there are, I call it peaks and valleys, and the peaks are higher than you think, and the valleys are lower than you think.
Totally.
And you have to be able to navigate, an ever-changing craft brewery scene. The competition is getting better, which is awesome, but it's competition at the end of the day. And there are more breweries popping up across the country than ever before at a rate we've never seen before. So at some point, the proverbial craft beer bubble might pop, and you got to be ready for when that happens. So it's an honest conversation. It always ends great, and I wish them tons of success. And if they get going, I'd love to help promote them and get them off the ground. But it's hard. Yeah,
reality's reality.
That's
hard.
The
thing. Yeah.
I mean, you have to say it. Like, it's like, I mean, the 6 to 8 month thing too. Like, especially it's not going to happen. Like, so
it's just not unless you know people in the right place. Who knows? Maybe you know the governor or state senators or something. But there's federal levels, there's state levels, there's city, municipality levels, and all of it just takes time.
Yeah. And I think that you're actually probably doing more good for people by giving them the,
I would imagine,
the tried and true. Like, this is what the reality of it is, because. Like you said, I think that there's a lot of people that are like, cool, we're going to just drink some beer. We're going to make this stuff. We're going to obviously, we know there's some trouble that comes with it, but we're probably morally just going to drink and hand out
Who wouldn't love that, right?
Right. It's a party that you also make money at.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that was the advice that I got from a couple brewery owners was don't treat it like a sandbox. This is not your personal playground. If you do, you'll be out of business in a couple years. And everybody will make it a couple years. Like to get started, you'll have that initial burst of like, hey, new brewery, new shiny object. Like people will show up, but you can tell pretty quickly the folks that are using it as a playground versus this is a business we care about quality, we care about, atmosphere, reputation, the community, outreach, all that good stuff. And it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I drink less beer now than I ever have before.
Well, I was going to say,
I'm just tired, man. It's a job. It's a job,
sure,
and it's wonderful and amazing. And I hope, knock on wood, I don't ever have to go back to the corporate world. But
I don't think you will.
But it's a job if you treat it the right way.
Yeah, definitely. Based on what I've heard, I think you have the determination that you're going to definitely keep this thing going for a few.
I think
years.
So.
If you continue to have an Oktoberfest beer that hits like this,
that's Big Carl, man.
We're in a good spot.
He killed it.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. This is really, really cool. For the people that don't know where the brewery is, give us a little info on where they can find you. I mean, where,
Yeah, so we're in Walker's Point. We're just south of the river on 135 East Pittsburgh. So if you see a giant mural that looks like a blown up baseball, that's us. But yeah, it's a fantastic little neighborhood right across the street from Radio Milwaukee 88.9. Collectivo's right on the corner. Merriment Social's down the block. Yeah. So it's a really cool little corner in Walker's Point. Happy to be here. We just, I eat, sleep, and breathe baseball, Milwaukee. Like, this is home. And I think that reflects, too, is that, I care deeply about where we are and what we're doing. And we do a ton of community outreach. If you want to check out the website, it's brokenbatbrewery.com. You can book events with us, check out the tap list, reserve the wiffle ball field if you're so inclined.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about this. Wiffle ball.
Nah, we can get there.
It's
we'll
amazing.
Get there. Maybe you guys come do an offsite shoot or something. But
we've been talking about that is like having a live podcast from somewhere. Like in Milwaukee, and obviously Alan and I both love drinking beer. Like,
now it's gonna be the wiffle ball challenge.
Well,
forget the podcast. We're just gonna have a home run derby.
Yeah,
like,
we can do a home run derby.
We have been chatting about that. I think that would be so much fun, and like have a call out to people who are side hustlers. Like, come on by, have a beer with us, and chat about what you do, and like enjoy Broken Bat.
Would love to hear stories too. That's half the fun of it too. Is just talking to people and building.
And then like as we have more drinks, it'll become a really really funny podcast.
Yes.
So that would be
sure.
That would be good.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of good stories that started with I was drinking water.
Right.
Mostly starts with I was drinking
beer. The best
beer.
one is when it turns into wine. That becomes a great story.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're kicking around the idea of getting a wine license because that definitely is that's a huge request that we get lately. But
really.
Yeah,
I guess with the neighborhood, being close to the third ward,
and just some folks don't like beer, which
really
to their detriment. But we do have
like seltzer. I know that
we have a hard seltzer. We have a couple hard seltzers that are gluten free, but for the most part, it's craft beer, and we're very proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, definitely make sure you go check out Broken Bat Brewery. Have a few. You can get them all over Wisconsin as well, so that's cool. So make sure you pick up some as well. This has been a blast. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. Great. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Excited. A lot of good things coming up.
Absolutely. And breaking news on the pod.
Yeah.
Too, so
right. I know.
We'll see who listens, man. You guys will find out. We'll see if we can get some traction on it. But we're super excited to partner with Marquette, and President Lovell already gave us the green light, so we're excited on it.
I thought you were going to say that he got the first 6-pack, and I was like, all right. No.
He will, but but not yet.
Not
yet.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you are listening for the first time, welcome. Hello. You can listen to us. You can watch us wherever you get your podcasts. We have content everywhere too. We have a YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, Twitter. We're all over the place. We're hustling sideways. If you want to be on this podcast, you can do that. You can just send us a line over at hustlingsideways@gmail.com.
As you used to say, send us a Gmail.
I know. I've said send us a Gmail. I said send us a line, which I meant to say drop us a line to them.
No, I was going to say anything when you said it.
I was going to glance right over it, but now here we are. Send us an email, Gmail, whatever. Get in touch with us. And you can definitely be a guest here on Hustling Sideways as well.
We would love to have you.
Thank you so much.
Highly recommended.
There we go.
There you go.
See, it's been and you can give us a 5-star review.
Yes, which is the only review you're even allowed to give.
Legally, yes, you must give our podcast.
And that's from the lawyers at Broken Bat.
That's nice, yeah.
Same legal team. Yeah, same guys. So, all right, we are done. We are out of here. We're gonna go enjoy some Broken Bat Brewing. And Jim,
keep on hustling and cheers.
We'll see you next week.